Hey, I'm Zara.
And hi, I'm Fatma, and together, me and Zara decided to start a podcast of our own called Ultramarine Glow.
Yeah, okay, so a little about me. I am Zara. I am studying psychological science and business from Monash University. I'm doing, mar- I'm majoring in like marketing. I'm in my second year. I'm also like taking all these courses to become a certified NLP, CBT, and mindfulness coach. I'm also an artist and a photographer, and I basically love abstract art, and I love street photography, and I love that colors and stories that you can tell. So I basically have a lot of variety in my portfolio of sorts. So there's not only like photography and like psychology, but there's like this whole bunch of things, and I interrelate them.
So I'm currently studying politics and development studies in London. I'm in SOAS. And I'm a writer. I write poetry, I write prose, I write short stories. I currently finished my training to become a certified life coach. So that's happening. I write a lot of reflective pieces and poetry that is inspired by art, that is inspired by a lot of colors, that is also inspired by a lot of Zara's own work. And I think a lot of my work and her work, a lot of the things we share are very interrelated. I think we focus a lot on color and energy and a lot on feelings. And I think it's something we've bonded over. I think in the last few years, especially. This is mostly inspired by me and Zara talking for like 8 hours in one go about everything and anything that we've thought of in
And
the past
then
year.
not talking about anything for a year.
Yeah.
And then I think over the last year or so, we've become closer, and we've realized that there's a lot that we can talk about, and there's a lot to share.
And I think the progression has been so different and so wonderful at the same time, because whenever we do talk, it's about very interesting, very important things in both of our lives. So like milestones towards our growth or achievement, however we feel.
And I think we both are very growth oriented people. So for us, any small thing, like, oh my god, I allowed myself to feel sad today. Or like, oh my god, I like woke up early.
Or
It's
oh
like
my god, I allowed myself to ask someone else for help.
Yeah. Like those really small things actually become a very strong topic for conversation. And we see that so much that we were like, okay, let's have a chat.
And I think, and you know what I think we realized over time is that probably however we feel is also how other people must be feeling and going through, which is different words and terminologies.
Yeah.
And that's why I think having this kind of informal conversation is really important to just get your thoughts out and get your voices out.
Yeah. Okay, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
What are you feeling right now?
I'm like I said last night, right?
Yeah.
I'm in this really zen, really centered state of mind, and that's also the first thing like I think I felt when I walked in here and I saw that painting of the sunflowers.
Okay, first of all, we're recording this at Trauma Release and Wellness Center.
Yeah, big shout out to them.
Yeah, big shout out to On for allowing us to use this space. And I think that painting that you're referring to is like the center image for me, at least. That's the sunflower lavender is an image of growth and harmony.
And it's, you know what, that's such an interesting thing because it has both colors that I think both of us have grown to associate with that. Yeah. So it has a sunflower field
next to you.
Yeah, exactly. You have sunflower fields. You also have lavender field, and then you have this green and this house, and it's just this really serene kind of setting. But it's,
we're actually referring to the painting that I did in the space. It's a Van Gogh's painting called Sunflower, and lavender feels to be very literal.
Yeah.
And I think that painting has a lot of energy, and it has that pathway that happens. And I love how we're like referring to the painting
without the painting. Maybe we can find a way to like showcase painting for whoever is interested in this.
Maybe it could be the image that we use.
Who knows?
Yeah, but I think that painting also holds a lot of meaning when it comes to abundance because there's a house in it, right?
Yeah.
And it's about, like, if you think about the COVID situation, because that's a very big situation, right? And we're talking about like being extremely zen, for example. There's a very big conflict that comes with it because how can you be in that space of I'm okay with everything when you have absolutely no control about on anything.
You know what I realized? I think it's kind of like this. That painting has sunflower fields outside and that lavender fields outside in the house in the distance, right? What I think this whole situation has taught at least me to do is recreate those sunflower fields and those lavender fields inside my home. So it's just been an inverse of all the feelings that have been outside spread so vast. It's just I have to create them
but
inside now.
how did you manage to do that? Because like I have to establish this, right? You can't always be in a state of zen.
No,
That's
you
like
can't.
humanly impossible.
No, you can't.
And the reason I say this is because a lot of people who come to me, they're always like, oh my god, you're always happy, you have no problems. And I'm like, buddy, I'm
That's
a
not
human
true.
being.
Yeah. But that's the thing, right? I think the only way you can really be in zen or in that state of becoming zen, right, is if you just allow yourself to just be. If you're sad, I'm sad. Like there are like honestly before this state of being zen, I was like in a really chaotic spiraling state.
That was me. I was in both these states yesterday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not a continuous thing. It's always I was, I am, and I will be. Again, it's just you come back to it.
I think the way I explain this, like I with the link to the painting itself, is like for me when I'm in a very chaotic state, the only thing that gives me comfort and brings me to that place of zen where I can just be is nature.
Yeah.
So like for example, yesterday or in fact this morning, I was like, oh my god, I'm so sad. What the hell is going on? And then I look outside and the sky is pink at like 5 a.m. and I'm like, shit, I love this, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing that links it is the feeling of gratitude.
Yeah.
That brings you from a state of like turmoil and conflict to a state of zen, is that I am grateful that I'm here in the now. It's not about the past or the future. It's about in that moment, right?
I think gratitude plays a really important part anyways. I think gratitude is a key route to a lot of what everyone calls continuous happiness, because there's no such thing as continued happiness. Sadness are all like phases and states in life, right? Like you have to experience one to be able to experience the other. But I think the closest, not even the closest, I think the one thing that you can always find is gratitude, which is again not that easy, and we all have our moments of going like, you know, fuck this, what is this? But I think gratitude always helps to ground me, and also always brings in this really wholesome feeling of fulfillment, if nothing else.
See, but there's again, like I like how I will also bring in the other point in it. Gratitude is very hard to do if you're in that very rutty place. Okay, like do you remember when you were in London and it was like really dark one day, and I told you that we don't credit ourselves enough, and I told you to do an exercise.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
See?
You know what? Okay, I've also come to realize is that so being grateful to other people comes really naturally.
Yeah.
Right? So crediting other people for all that the help they've done, all that stuff, you know, that they've gone through and they've done for you is like second nature. Is like, yes, I am so happy and so glad that you have done this and are in my life, and that's great. But crediting my own self for like waking up and going out and just being fine with the cold weather or the rain or a really shitty day and getting through that is like almost unthinkable before. Now it's a bit better, but now it's also a bit, I mean the circumstances are very different, so I don't know exactly. But it's almost, I can't, it's almost like I just cannot bring myself to be thankful to my own self for the stuff that
I feel like as even with religion and even with like society, right, we're taught to be thankful to other people. We're never taught to be thankful to ourselves. And if we were taught to be thankful to ourselves and allowing ourselves to be like, okay, I am doing a great job, it changes the way we see other people, because then we will learn to credit them even more. Right? So that I say this because I see it, I was like that, right? I don't like crediting myself. I don't like asking for help.
I mean, you were like this. I remember the whole time you were in Malaysia and you had chickenpox, and it took you such a long time after the whole thing had passed to ever say that, oh my god, I went through it. You in the moment were like,
let me just be in this state. Don't come here.
You were like, I'm not grateful. I'm for my own self, for my strength. I don't care. You said fuck it to all the effort you did for your own self.
And then I later realized that I always say that I'm not very patient with myself. I'm very patient with other people, but not with myself. And I realized this since I had chickenpox last year or in August, and to date, like today, I know for a fact that I am way more patient and strong than I can ever imagine, especially with this whole COVID thing. Because like I like being in control, and I like I like knowing how things are gonna work out and plan out, and then this whole situation happened, and I was like shit. And then one of my assignments was this gratitude assignment, and I had to do that assignment when the plane crash happened. And that day I woke up and I was like, "Nahin, there is nothing to be grateful for. How do I write anything?" And it's those days where it's like, I am grateful for the fact that I can feel anything at all. That I can sit up, that I can get out of bed, that I can do any small act.
That's really interesting because like what I was thinking of, especially I think in terms of religion and how that plays in, is there's a lot of undertones of grief in religion, right? Always. And it's always bothered me because it's like, how can there be happiness when there is grief? But it's so interesting because it's the same thing. You feel grateful to be able to feel that sadness, that pain, right? And then you feel happy because you are a part of that, because through that gratefulness.
I'm sorry if there's some background noise. I don't know what is happening outside.
Construction probably.
Yeah. I hope that it's not too loud.
But we were talking about that by feeling sad, by allowing ourselves to grieve, we actually become grateful to be able to do that in the first place.
You wrote it, okay?
Yeah.
Do you want to read that line? Do you have it? There's so much love to give and to be had that it makes me sick.
Hold on, I will read it out.
Yeah, I think that poem that you wrote sums it up and it goes with the idea of fluidity.
Yeah.
Because fluidity is, I don't like when people say I can either be happy or I can either be sad.
No.
I think you have to be both at the same time.
Definitely.
To be able to feel it. And it's like the letter you wrote me was also this, right? That you have, okay.
Okay, shall I read?
Yeah.
Okay. There is so much life and love to give and to be had that the thought makes me sick with grief. And I think that really sums up how
Did you know what you wrote when you wrote it?
Okay, you know what? I'll be honest. So when I was writing this, right, this was in between when I was in Karachi, but I was also going to London, and this was a time when I was just, when you realize within yourself that a shift is about to happen, it's about to come. And this was again the time when I was, I think, dealing with going away, family, all of that, and it made me realize that there is so much love, so much hope, so much care that I have here, that I've even created within myself in Karachi, that going away from that, I don't know if I will be able to recreate it there. But the thought of just being here and having all that around me made me sick with grief because I was going to leave it.
I think with love, there's two kinds of grief that happens, and I'm not talking about romantic love. I'm talking about love in general. Like the feeling of love also is interrelated with the feeling of gratitude. And I think the two kinds of grief that come with love is one, that you realize that you never had it before. Right. So you actually recognize the neglect that you come from. That is so painful because you have to be able to feel the love that you're getting. You also have to feel the love that you didn't have.
You need to have memory of it.
Right? And I think that's very important because a lot of us block love because of that past fear or whatever. And then another is like the future grief, which is I won't have it again, like you said. Like I don't think I'll be able to recreate it. Right? But it's like it's about being here in the now. Right?
Exactly.
So it's not about the past, like I said. It's not about the future. It's I'm here now, and I can feel whatever I'm feeling, whether it's happy, sad. You don't have to label it. It's a mix.
That's really interesting because it's kind of like understanding that nothing in life is really permanent, because it really isn't. But it's such a scary realization because I think as humans we really like the idea of consistency,
which comes from control.
Exactly, right? And giving that up is like shattering. You're like, oh my god, okay, like there's no stability, no sense of continuation, which is I think is just so important for us. Like our whole regeneration process, like we give birth, we have kids to continue the family forward with this whole process of like, ek ke baad koi aur aayega, and like there will be a continuation, right?
I think that's again where the COVID comes in, because it's like
it's just gone, right? And so like it's the same thing, when you think of this and you look at times before COVID and you're like, oh my god, like always thought that you could hang out with your friends and you could go to this place, and you never imagined something as small as like, okay, like Xander's closing, right? And like who wears
so much.
exactly, right? But like it was such a constant thing. You're like, ये तो हमेशा ही होगा, like this will always be there, like there's nothing to that. But if we, I think in that moment I thought that this is the only moment that we are getting this, we would have savored it a lot more.
But I've spoken to people about this, and they always think that to be in the moment now means to do more.
No,
it doesn't mean to do
no.
more. It means just to be
Yeah,
there,
like just
mentally present.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
just recognize the fact that, you know, I met my friends today and I went to this place and this was a thing.
Even if you're having a bad day, that's
Doesn't
okay.
doesn't matter.
You did it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it's like sometimes you don't want to go, and that's also fine.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And I think the whole situation now makes you revalue the little moments. Like I look back at Malaysia and like university, and like I never went out anywhere, and I generally don't go out anywhere. But the moments that I value most were like being in my room with my friends.
Yeah.
Right? Even here, being with you in person is like, holy shit, what the
Yeah.
hell is going on? It's weird energy like creating, like, you know, it's weird, and I think you re-establish that love and that connection with more,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
Because I think a lot of it also what comes into it is like you mentioned fluidity. It's just, you know, it's like it's kind of accepting that you have an internal locus of control. Of course, you control
Yeah.
how you feel, how you act, how you react to all these things. But everything else happening is an externality, and
Yeah.
it's really not in your control. And it's a really difficult, I think, realization to happen because it's not something that if you just willingly accept.
Yeah.
Also, it takes a lot of power away from you, but I think that's only on the very surface. I think by understanding that externalities aren't in your control, you actually gain a lot more power back.
Yes.
And you know what, like, I'm just rambling, but like what I think is really important is that by being present in the moment, you also become fluid. You
Yes.
can go from one state to another, from bad to good to happy to sad to ecstatic to all of that.
The thing that comes in my head is Midnight Gospel.
Yeah, oh my god.
Okay, and there's this one moment, there's this episode on meditation, it's by Ram Dass. Okay?
Yeah.
And Ram Dass's biggest line is be here now, right? And all it says is that to be there in the present moment. And you know, like it's just about breathing in what you have right now, whatever that is. And
Yeah.
and a lot of us, like, you know, I'll bring it back to the feeling thing, because what we're talking about takes a lot of time to get to. It's not easy to understand that I have absolutely no control over shit, you know, and all I can do is control my thoughts and my behavior and my actions. And I think to get there, you have to understand that, again, that's that establishment between it's okay to feel the uncomfortable feelings, and you have to feel them, which again is fluidity, right?
Yeah. It's
And as a generation also, our parents don't like talking about the sad things. We don't connect on those things, so we don't know how to express it either. We were never taught that language. So like as a whole generation, what I see is a lot of people, when it comes to sadness and things like that, we don't like talking about it. Anger is like wrong, like, you know, it's like a red zone. Oh my god, no.
and it's you know what is also really tricky, I think, even especially with our generation, is that this concept of having no control, right?
Yeah.
It's also the fact that you can't, so just because you have, okay, no control doesn't mean that everything that happens to you is someone else's fault or someone else's
It's not a
thing.
blame game.
It's not a
thing.
blame game
Yeah.
thing, right? No control simply means you accept the state that you are in, because that is an externality, and however you choose to react or feel is then up to you.
And acceptance of wrong things doesn't make it right, you know. Like,
Exactly.
I accept the situation, not the action.
Exactly.
Right? And that's a very good establishment to make in today's
It's
time
you know
also.
it's like it's something like, okay, I really wanted to go out today,
Yeah.
but I couldn't because something happened. That happening wasn't good for me,
Yeah.
right? It made me upset. I accept that,
Yeah.
but it is what it is essentially. I can't go out, so I can't go out. We
Yeah.
are stuck at home, so we're stuck at home. Doesn't make it okay. Doesn't make it ideal, but you accept.
You know, and I think the biggest thing is people don't complain or share it, right? So it's like they have this big thing, oh shit, like I know everybody's going through it, so if I complain about it, I'm like a pussy and like, you know, and nothing happens. I'm like being serious because this is what I hear. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay for you to want to go out and not be able to. And be sad about it and dwell in that sadness for a week, you know? Because again, it's the same thing. It's not okay to be that.
It's just like if you're sad, you're sad. And honestly, sometimes, you know, I think what the problem comes is that when you think about things like sadness or being uncomfortable, we just want to get out of it and go like,
run.
And like, you know, that's not a solution. I get it. Everything is solution based because obviously we want to get from one thing to another. But running away isn't a solution. Being in that state, allowing yourself to feel all of that.
Okay, how would you do that?
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, because I think I struggled with it a lot.
Yeah.
Especially things
Same.
like sadness and anger and like this whole feeling of powerlessness. I hate it because I always think like, no, it is entirely up to me. Of course I can. So this whole I think process has been just that I'm having a really shitty day. I accept it. That shitty day does not have to affect the way I behave or the way I interact or anything that I do. But I accept that I'm not having the best day. And so I'm okay with being in that really bad kind of, you know, thought process. And that's okay for now. As long as I want it to be. And when I don't want it to be, it's entirely up to me to change it when I do.
Exactly. But it's not your thing to change someone else's.
No, it's not.
It's
just
yours.
It's just yours. Like, I have no control. I cannot have any control over getting you out of one state to another. The only thing I can ask you is like, Zara, how are you feeling today? Or what do you want to do?
I think that's also a thing that I like to point out. It's like you just deal with you and like you can assist people but you can't fix them.
You can't at all. And I think this is a really big label that comes along with anyone who sort of had that realization where they go like, oh, you want to fix people, you want to, you know, help them. And
I think that's a whole separate conversation.
entirely.
Yeah. Okay, I think for me, if I were to tell someone what to do or how to do it, I think I would tell them like the be here now, right? Links in with gratitude. I think the first step is accepting gratitude for yourself. Because I think it's very easy to thank someone else because we've been doing that for ages. It's very easy to thank someone else. I think the first thing I would ask anyone who's listening, okay, and who's related to any point at any
like really weird ramble of like words.
I think that's the point of this. So I think the first thing I would say is just practice gratitude, like every day physically, even you and even me, like even because I have the same thing. I don't like. Because when I was saying all these things, I was thinking, oh shit, I've grown so much. You know?
You don't realize this.
And because like I know I don't like feeling sad, and now I'm like I can cry at any second. I'm like shit, Zara, like well done. Like you know, a lot of people don't.
And you know, it's not uncomfortable anymore. Like being sad is not uncomfortable for me anymore. Being upset isn't uncomfortable. Like you remember we was talking to you, I think a few weeks back, and I said I feel like I'm floating uncomfortably. Right. And so I don't think I'm floating any differently. I'm still floating uncomfortably. It's just that the uncomfortable
becomes familiar.
It doesn't bother me anymore.
It becomes familiar.
It becomes familiar.
Accept it.
Yeah.
I think you should I think everyone on this planet should practice gratitude towards self because that self-compassion links with the whole ideology that everybody loves to talk about, which is self-love. But to practice it in like its
entirety is so difficult
and not very like socially. It's not something that's supposed to be so like socialized. It's a very hard thing to do.
You know, gratitude for your own self is thanking and actually acknowledging all the really tough times you've gone through, which none of us like to credit. So in any of our,
we don't like to accept the tough times.
We don't at all. So like if I look back, like even now I think I do this a lot. Every time I look back at all the growth or all the progress I've made in my life, I instantly look at either the things that other people have helped me through or things that have been very good. But I have a tough time ever recognizing the things that I have done for my own self and really bad phases of that. And that is a big part of gratitude. And it's so uncomfortable still to be able to do that. You know?
I think that's the whole point. I think that's why I love it so much, because
Yeah.
when something's uncomfortable, there's resistance.
Yeah.
The minute there's resistance, you know you're doing something right.
Exactly, and that's how you know you should actually be doing more.
Yeah, like,
And
push it a little slowly by slowly. Nobody's telling you like dive head first.
No one will.
You have to nurture it.
At
care
your own
for it.
pace. At your own
Yeah,
pace.
and
And
everybody's pace is different.
you know the best thing about it is that it's like this really nice connected thing where when you start showing yourself that kind of care, love and kindness, it isn't automatically you start showing it towards other people, and it just becomes a part of you.
Because you have it in you. When you the more it links with abundance, which
Yeah.
we should talk about sometime. And it's like when you get filled with so much love and kindness and care for yourself, you have more to give.
Yeah.
So you can't give from an empty tank.
It's it's the same thing. It's like you can't give something you don't have.
Exactly.
Which again is like, so remember we talked about this at one time. We talked about this feeling of emptiness. There are two kinds of emptiness that comes with it.
Yeah.
Entirely different conversation,
Yeah.
different thing to talk about.
Yeah.
But it's all linked to the idea of how your progression in life, how you are with yourself, how you're with other people, all linking with your own sense of self and gratitude.
Yeah. I think everybody, like even me, even you, like everyone on this planet today, after listening to this, should go and just like write 3 good things about yourself.
Yeah.
Do it for a week. That's it. That's all I ask.
I think that's so difficult for
It's
anyone to
very
do.
difficult. Do it for a week, because the first 2 days you'll be like, acha, fine. But the third day you're gonna fight it.
Yeah. And at one point you will make yourself believe that there is nothing to write about. It's
That's
that
the whole thing.
you're so resistant in going back.
I think it's just recognizing if the resistance comes up and you stop, that's fine. But accepting that resistance is the whole game.
Yeah.
So I think with this first episode comes to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed it and would come and listen to the rest of our podcast. And I hope this kind of inspires you to do anything that you want to do. And yeah, goodbye.
Bye.